Welcome back to Joidala Fashion Guide. In today's video, we are going to be learning how to draft different neckline for an outfit. How to draft different necklines. So, for these tutorials, we'll be making use of this pattern papers. We've already marked out, we've already marked the armhole, the shoulder slope and the armhole curve. So this is from shoulder to the chest area. Okay, so this is what we are going to be using. Then you will need a marker or a pencil to draft. Of course, you need your measuring tape. You need the scissors because we'll be cutting out the pattern. You need the French curve, whichever one that you have available. It's okay to use any of the French curves. And then we also need a ruler like this or a straight ruler. So we are going to be taking the neckline one after the other. The first one we are going to be learning is the asymmetric neckline. Asymmetric neckline. Now for this neckline, usually, you know, our pattern is always on fold. But for this asymmetric neckline, we cannot cut it on fold. So what you will do is that you get your, first of all, you get your pattern paper. You fold it into two, okay, using the measurement that you already have. You know, the widest part of the body divided by 4. They add some allowance. Guys have to know how much to put on fold. Then after you have done that, we take the shoulder measurement. The shoulder measurement for this customer was 14. 14 divided by 2 is 7. So on fold, you mark 7. So I'm just explaining this in case you are doing it fresh. So you mark 7. And then the neckline that we are using for this customer is 3.5. So you mark your 3.5 mark. You mark the 3.5. Okay. Then you can also turn it to the other side and also mark 3.5. So you know exactly where it ends. And of course, you come down 1 inch for the shoulder slant and then you cut it out. I'll just explain this, though we are not using it. You take the armhole depth. The armhole depth for this customer is 7. And then we got the mid part. We came in by 1/2 inch and then we cut out this front armhole. So our major concern is on the neckline, so the neck and the shoulder. Okay, so after you have marked this neckline, the neckline weight you are working with is 3.5. You open the paper because we want to make an asymmetric neckline. So this is the width of the neckline. The width of the neckline is 7, and of course here is our midpoint. So at this end, this edge of the shoulder stroke the neckline, from there we take the neck depth. So for this we are using a neck depth of 5 inches for the asymmetric neckline. You can always adjust it to your preference, but I'm using 5 inches. I just connect that 5 inches. Here is 5 inches. So the next thing to do is to take your French curve and connect it from this point to the other shoulder. and use this curved part for this side. Just place it like this, and you see that. So from here to here, you connect it. That is a symmetric neckline. So the next thing is to cut the pattern out. Follow your line. The paper, so you be careful when you cut your pattern so it doesn't cut more than what you have marked. So this is how asymmetric neckline look like. So this is asymmetric neckline. So let's go to the next. The next neckline we'll be working on is the Halter neckline. Halter neckline. So for this neckline, the Halter neckline is another name for it is the turtleneck. The turtleneck. So the turtleneck, it has to grip your neck. It has to grip the neck. There's usually a band on the neck. Okay, so we will not be using the 3.5 inches that we have marked as the neckline. We will not be using the 3.5. So we'll go in by 1 inch because we want it to grip the neck. So we'll be marking 2.5 inches. We mark 2.5 inches, and then that 2.5 inches mark, we are going to, from there, we are going to connect it to the armhole. That is how to draft the Halter neckline. From the neckline, you just connect to the armhole. There is no shoulder. You simply connect it like this, like this. Okay, and then you will not cut exactly here. You will come out by 1/2 inch. Okay, so that you will cut here, so that when you now want to sew, you now sew along this place. But if you just cut along here, it means that when you are sewing, you are going to go in again to sew through here, which will further reduce the neckline and it may make it tight. So after you have gotten the mark like this, just come out by 1/2 inch. Come out by 1/2 inch or by 3/4 inch, depends on you. It's always better to have more than enough. So, but I'm going to be using 1/2 inch. And then you reconnect that. So we are going to be cutting this. So from this part, we are going to cut the front armhole. Because it's a high neck, we will not be using, normally when you want to cut the neck, for some places you use 3.5, for some you use 4. But because it is a high neck, it's going to be close to the neck. Okay, so I'm going to be using 2.5. You can use whatever suits you. I'm going to be using 2 inches, sorry, or let's say 2.5. Okay, let me just use 2 inches to be on the safe side, and then use the ruler to connect that. And the Halter neckline also has a band, so you can measure the roundness of the neck to cut out the band, but we are not doing that. We are simply going to cut out the neckline. So cut out the armhole first. And then from that point, so this this is the Halter neckline. Please ignore here. These are the Halter neckline looks like, or what they call the turtleneck. This is the Halter neckline. So the neckline that we are going to be working with, the neckline we are going to be drafting is the keyhole neckline. The keyhole neckline. For this, the paper will be on fold, and then we'll mark out the measurement that we need first. We are using 3.5 by 3.5. From this point, we also mark 3.5. Then we connect with our ruler. And then use the armhole, whichever one that you wish to use. You can use this. You can use this. It's a round armhole, a round neck, sorry. Or you use this, however you want the neckline to be like. And then the keyhole area, the full length of from the shoulder. Let's determine the full length of the neckline. We want the neckline to end at 7. Then we have taken half of it for this roundness. We have taken half of it, so we are left with half, with 3.5. So we are going to, we don't want to cut through this place. You can decide to cut through, but for me, I don't want to cut it through. I want that, you know, is a hole. I want a hole to be there. So from this point, you can mark 1/2 inch. From here, mark 1/2 inch. So it is from here to here the hole is going to be. From here to the 7 inches mark. So that means the distance from here to here is 3 inches. So you can use your French curve to create the hole like this. So that is our keyhole, and then you cut. And also cut out this part. Be careful when you are cutting so that you don't overcut. So this is our keyhole neckline. See that? So we go to the next. The one shoulder one off. For the one shoulder one off, you get your pattern, your paper, fold it into 2, determine the neckline, the shoulder line. Neckline I'm working with 3.5. You can also mark it this way so that you know the exact point. Then you've already taken your shoulder slant, you have taken the armhole curve. Then once you have cut out the shoulder slant and the armhole curve, you open your pattern. Then you now determine how much off you want. For this customer, I'll just use the midpoint of the armhole. The armhole length was 7, so the middle of the armhole, 3.5. That is what I'm going to use. So you can decide to use 4 off, or 5 off, or 4.5 off, depending on your preference. But for this, I'm using 3.5 off. And then you use your French curve to connect this shoulder to this place. You can use the shoulder side like, you can use it like this. The curve, you can use this curve side on this side, like give it a nice shape. You see it. And then we cut. So this is our one shoulder, one off, one shoulder, one off. The next one we're going to be working on is the one that looks like step. One that looks like step. I don't know what you call it, step neckline or scallop. The scallop is a curve, so alright, whatever name you choose to call it, you can call it. We are still using 3.5 for the neckline. For the neck width, we are using 3.5. The neck depth, we are using 6.5. So first of all, you mark a square out. And just use your ruler to connect. So the next thing is to determine how many steps. You see this one. So the next is to determine how many steps you want to have. For here I have 4 steps. So to do that, from here to here, like I said, is 6.5. So the number of steps that you want, you divide 6 and use it to divide 6.5. So like 6.5 divided by that number of steps. So here I have 1, 2, 3, 4. So you divide 6.5 by 4. Divide 6.5 by 4. If you divide 6.5 by 4, you are going to have around 1.25. You can check that out, and then you just mark 1.25, 1.25, 1.25, 1.25. Okay, so 1.25 all through. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then the wideness here is 3.5. 3.5. So we try to divide this 3.5 because we say we want we try to divide it into 4 equal parts. So you first of all fold it into half like this to know the width of the step, and then we share this one again. Then you also share it here. So by the time you measure what you have, you are going to have not up to 1, okay, but it's a little bit more than 0.75. So let's say 0.8. Okay, this is what we have. So you just measure. That means the width will be that, then the length will be 1.25. That's 1.25. So you just mark the point. Mark the point. And then use your ruler to connect it like this. So it will be like a staircase, like this. Simply connecting all the points. So it's like the scallop neckline, only that one is curvy, but this one is like square, like a staircase. So this is our step neckline. Then just cut. Try to cut along the step. Be careful so that you don't want to cut through to ruin the neckline. It's not beautiful. So imagine that on your dress. See, it's beautiful. So I'll call it step neckline, steps, or scallop, whichever one you want to call it. So the next one I'm going to be cutting is the one that looks like the Queen Anne neckline. So for that, have your paper. Like I said, mark out your shoulder divided by 2. Ours was 14, so we have 7. Then the neckline we are using is 3.5. We don't really need all this part, but you can just roll it aside as it will look like a neckline, okay? So the neck width is 3.5. The neck depth we are working with is 6 inches. So you can make yours deeper depending on your preference, but it should not be too deep that it will show your cleavage. Okay, so I think 6 inches is okay, or 7. You can use 6 or 7, or according to your preference. So on this 6 inches, you just determine the midpoint. The midpoint is 3. So from this midpoint, you come out by 1 inch, and then use a French curve to connect that. Use a French curve to connect from here to the curve, and from here to here, like this. Then from there, okay, so I call it the special square because it's like a square neckline but having a curve, so I call it special square. So you can call it any one you want, then or cut it out. So this is what it looks like. So I call it special square. You can call it anyone you wish. So let's move to the next. The next one that we'll be cutting is just like the keyhole, but this time around it has a V shape. So the neck width is 3.5. The neck, first of all, mark out the square. So I'm using 3.5 by 3.5 for this customer. Then I draw out a square. Then the armhole. Sorry, I keep saying armhole. The neck round. The neck round. So the full length of this neckline is 6.5. So from this point, from this line you can come in by 1/2 inch, depending on how open you want the V to be, and then you connect it to this end here like a V. Okay, and then we cut. You can cut here first, following the curve. And then cut this. this is what we have. The next neckline is a V neckline. Our paper still unfold. The neck width still remains 3.5, and we're working with a neck length of 6.5. Depending on how deep you want the V to be, you can go as 7, 8, depending on your preference, but I'm using 6.5. This is this very simple neckline. From this edge here, simply use your straight ruler to connect from here to here. So that is the V neckline. If you have to be a square neckline, then I'm not going to, you just cut here out. That is a square. So you connect it. That is all for V neckline, and just cut it out. So you have this. So this is V neck. V neck. So the next one I'm going to be looking at is one I call the special square. It's like a trapezium, if you know a trapezium. For this, you are using 3.5 as a neck width. You are using 6 inches as a neck depth. Then you rule out you connect the line to form a square. But before you cut out the square, remember that from here to here is 3.5. Just get the midpoint. Simply fold your tip like this and mark. Then connect here to here. That's all. Connect here, the midpoint to the neckline. So you cut along here and here. It's like it's a trapezium. So that's why I call it special square. So this is what it looks like. It's not beautiful. It's not beautiful. Look at the neckline. So trapezium neckline. The next neckline I'm going to be working on is the Queen Anne neckline. Queen Anne neckline. So the fabric still unfold. The width of the neckline is 3.5. The length of the neckline is 7. Okay. Then first of all, let's connect it and see what it looks like. So the next thing we are going to do is that we are going to share this 7 inches length. We are going to share it using, I'm going to mark 4.5. So just connect the line. 4.5, that means the remaining one is 2.5. So connect it here. And then this 4.5 mark, this is where the box is. We'll come out of the box towards the armhole. Come out of the box by 1 inch and mark it like this, out of the box by 1. Or from the armhole, you go in by 2 inches and mark, whichever one you want to do. So on the neckline, this neckline was 3.5. We'll go in and mark 1 inch. From this 1 inch that we mark, from this 1 inch that we went in, that means it has reduced that neckline now. It has reduced it to 2.5. So from this 2.5 mark, we use a straight ruler to connect it to meet this 4.5. Like this. And then we use a curve ruler to connect from here to the middle of the neckline. Like this. And then we cut out. So when you want to cut, you're going to cut along this place, not the square. So just watch me as I cut from here, following the curve. And then from here. So these are the neckline. So this is Queen Anne neckline. Queen Anne neckline. So another one that looks like the Queen Anne neckline is the Sweetheart neckline. The Sweetheart neckline. So we are using 3.5 width. We are still using the 7 inches. Mark out is a square. Is it a square or a rectangle now? Mark out a square like this. Connect all the dots together like this. The way we then, in the Queen Anne neckline, we use this 7 inches line. We use 4.5 by 2.5. But for this Sweetheart neckline, we are going to use 5. Then this down part will be 2. Okay. So once you mark your 5 inch, you simply use your curve ruler to connect. Okay, first of all, this 5 inches mark, locate the midpoint. The midpoint will be at 2.5. This midpoint come out by 1 inch. That will be the guide for the ruler, for the armhole, for the French curve. You use it as a guide for the French curve. So you just place your French curve from here to here is 5. From this 5 mark, it should cross, it should come through here and end at this neckline like this. Do you see how I've placed the ruler? Connecting from the 5 to the middle that you mark, the middle of the 5, which is 2.5, and then to the neck, to the base of the neck, like that. And then from here, you now use the curve again to have your Sweetheart neckline. This is the Sweetheart. So there are some Sweetheart that you just cut it straight. You just cut it straight and then put the Sweetheart like this. But if you want a more sexy neckline, you can make it a curve. If you want to leave it straight and just cut out this neckline, let me cut only here and show you what it will look like. So if you cut only there, this is how it will look like. Oh, sorry, I cannot open it. It will look like something like this, you know, without this place. It will come straight and the curve. It will come straight and the curve, but we don't want that. We want the special one. also. So this is special. This is a sweetheart neckline. And the one I was saying, this one will be here like this. This one will go in. It will be straight. It will now be like this. So whichever one you like as your sweetheart, straight or the one with the curve. I think this is finer. So this is sweetheart. And then the last but not the least, I was actually looking for a name to call it. It's like a scoop neckline, but different, a bit different. You know, the scoop neckline comes like this. Okay, so it's like a scoop neckline. So for this we are using 3.5 width by 7 by 7. Sorry, by 6.5. You can use 6.5 or use 7, but I'm using 6.5. So you can use 3.5 by 6.5 or 3.5 by 7. Then let's connect the lines first. And then get the midpoint of this 6.5. This is 6.5. We get the midpoint. Here is 3.5. We get the midpoint. So simply fold your tape. That will be 3/4. 3/4. This is the midpoint. And then this edge here will go in by 1 inch to reduce the neckline. So we'll now have 2.5 here. So from here, with your French curve, from here you connect to here, and from here you connect to here. As simple as that. From here you connect with your French curve, and then you connect to here. So connect in such a way that the line will blend. So you can use the curve to blend it out, so that there are no sharp edge. Just blend it out. Okay. Okay, just blend it out. And then you cut. So there's a shape. See what I say is like a scoop neckline. So we can call it scoop. So you see all our necklines looking beautiful. So we have come to the end of this video. I hope you find this video helpful. I'll just put them on my neck one after the other. Let's appreciate it. Let's see what they look like. So this is a scoop neckline. You see that? The scoop neckline. This is sweetheart. This is Queen Anne. Queen Anne. And then that one I said special square or no, I call this a trapezium. This is what it looks like. A V-neck. And this is a special V-neck. Usually use this for kaftan. This is special square. The step. One shoulder, one off. Keyhole. Halter neck. Halter neck. And of course our asymmetric neckline. So I hope you find this video helpful. Don't forget to give me some thumbs up, and please subscribe to my channel if you are yet to subscribe to my channel. I'll see you again in another video. Bye for now.